Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a GeekVerse Thought Bubbles from, I guess, Cantina Conversations. My name is the very thrilled Travis Snell.
I did not think of a name. I'm gonna go with
what I'm doing with my life.
the ninth Taylor Field.
Really? The ninth? This is the best you got?
I don't know. We're very specific on our topic today, so I'm not really sure what to really.
Oh man, someone already in the live chat. Give these boys a like and a follow from Taylor Field. Gee,
What a nice guy. Props to him.
For the first time, he's not wrong though. So let's get down to business. We have talked about this really in theory. We can talk about it a bit, but a few weeks ago, Colin Trevorrow, actually it was just last week, I guess. Colin Trevorrow out as Star Wars Episode 9 director. It was kind of rumored. It happened. Then I thought it might take a little longer, but then unbeknownst to us, they probably already decided. I imagine once they got rid of him, I don't think they got rid of him. Like, what are we gonna do now? Like, I think
they knew way in advance.
Yeah, they probably knew before Colin. They were like, "Hey, JJ, we're gonna oust Colin." Like, so J.J. Abrams has been announced as a director, or as the director of Episode 9. Also, he did Force Awakens. He's done the newest Star Trek movies. He did Super 8. He did Mission Impossible 3. So, Taylor, I'm going to throw a review. The title is Pros and Cons. Give me your pros first, because I'm going to be a little spoiler and say that I don't have any cons, and it's strange, and I can get into that why, and I can preference why, but give me your pros first.
Well, I mean, we got into a debate about this earlier.
Oh, yeah, we're about to get more, yeah.
So, I mean, my pros, I liked what he did with Force Awakens. I was all on that hype train, and I feel like, I loved what he did.
Don't watch along, as that's going to kill the... No. You'll make the stream look less cold because you're using my bandwidth.
Oh, well...
I have the live chat here, so if people want to respond when you're watching, you can jump right in.
Okay, there we go. Sure. I was watching us as we were...
No wonder my CPU is at like 98%. God damn.
Okay, so yeah, pros, he's great director.
We're not a big... We got a camera and a laptop. We don't got a fucking big thing. We're in the studio one day.
Sorry, use my data next time.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, I think, I loved how he handled Star Trek. I mean, they're one of my favorite movies, and
did you like Star Trek before?
I liked Star Trek before.
Okay,
but
I didn't. I like those movies.
Really?
Yeah. It's not that I have anything against it. I think I watched it when I was younger. Like, this is kind of boring, and I moved along. With Star Wars is much more action than that, but I liked those two. I like the second one even. Lots of Star Trek fans hate that movie.
I love the second one.
But as a person that's not seen them, I liked it, so I had nothing to go off on.
Yeah, so I mean, that was really what we got, before Star Wars. We got to see how we would work, with, a franchise established in space and everything like that. And a well-established franchise as well. So, I mean, I liked what he did. The movie, Star Trek was visually is beautiful, and that carried over with him into Star Wars. I felt like Force Awakens was just visually, everything was great. And I feel like he came, he knew what to bring to the table, and I feel like he really brought out, the characters and brought out so much that was dropped in front of him. And it felt...
Star Trek or Star Wars?
Star Wars.
Okay.
It was just fantastic what he was able to do. That being said, yes, it was very much like A New Hope. But, I mean, after we saw the movie for the first time, no one was thinking that. I mean, maybe, the really critique people, but, none of us were. We were so...
No, even on our review, we talked about that, but it wasn't in a negative, we were just like, oh, it's kind of a cover song, but we kind of swished it to the side because we just enjoyed it so much, I'm going to jump in right there at the whole, before we finish with the cover song thing. I 100% agree with that there is aspects of a cover song, but there's three things you got to keep in mind, too. I don't know, they were all in my head, they're all jumbled. I do have some notes, though. But I was saying to you in the car that I think no matter who the director is, that was going to happen, because they wanted to set the tone of people. One of the biggest thing about the prequels is obviously maybe some bad acting, right? But the next thing, lots of people, the popular phrase, and I said this a lot, it didn't feel like Star Wars for some people. They felt like it was divorced from it, felt like it was something else. They wanted to get back to that feel, and they wanted to tell that story. And I think with JJ and the director like Rian Johnson and Gareth Edwards and the other people, I think they do, it's like Marvel. They have a set story of where they want to go, but they bring their unique style to it. I can watch Force Awakens and Star Trek and be like, that's a J.J. Abrams movie. I bet when I watch Last Jedi, it's going to feel like a Rian Johnson movie. So that's the thing where, and I still think he obviously wrote the script. I'm not saying they just pushed him in and you do that, but I'm saying that I think we were going to get something that was kind of a retread or something that was like a cover song no matter who directed that. Because I think they wanted to just get you back in the world. And that's why for me, I'll always defend, I love that movie. I've always said, Last Jedi I hope will be different, but Force Awakens I have no problem, one, with being a cover song, and two, I'll get into it later, but there's people act like it's a shot-for-shot remake sometimes, and there's so much new things in there for The Force Awakens, and you know, I'm just going to say them right now. You look at him, he brought back practical effects, was a big thing everyone was talking about, everyone loved. You look at a franchise like Star Wars, which I think is easily the biggest film franchise, maybe just franchise in general. When people pushed back against it, he put a female lead in there, you know, and that's something you had idiots like, oh, this is not my Star Wars, I'm gonna boycott it, yada yada. Like, he was the one to do that. Same thing with Finn being a black stormtrooper, that was a big controversy. Him and Poe are men of color. There's a thing that I remember when we watched Force Awakens with Kylo Ren. Kirkland at the beginning was really disappointed because he's like, oh, I was expecting Vader, and that's not what I got. And then we talked it over, I remember, after the reviews, like, oh, like, I want to like him and I don't. And then we talked it over, and then he saw it again. He's like, man, I understand Kylo. I'm liking him more now that I see this different version of a villain. That's the thing. Like, he could have easily came in and just made high on big, hulky, like, villain, like Vader. Like, Kylo Ren has shades of Vader, but really he's nothing like it when you look at a character standpoint. Really, like, obviously you have to turn the dark side, but they get there in many different ways. And that's the thing where it's like, for everything you can name, yes, there's a Death Star, obviously, and yes, they follow the beats of like a Han Solo dying, but for me, everything that you could name that's a retread, I could name things that are new as well. And people, like, that's the thing, these characters aren't just like, oh yeah, it's a new female lead. It was a great female lead. I think she was maybe a little overpowered, but like, it's a very minor complaint. Like, that's the thing about the newest franchise where I wasn't that worried, is because I have to rank them, Finn, Rey, Poe, Kylo, like, that's in no order. I like them all. I want to see where they all go, you know, and that's the thing, like, he did that. People don't, and I don't feel like people are giving him enough credit, like, he did that. He made everyone fall in love with Star Wars again, you know, and that's where it's like, it was a retread, but I gotta defend that because I always go to bat where it was, but he still had a lot of new stuff in there. Yeah, there was a fucking Death Star again, but you know what? I feel like there could have been a Death Star in there again, even if he was not doing it, you know? And this made sense. The First Order grew up looking at the Empire, you know, they want to do what they did, but do it better, you know? I can defend that. I get people's complaints about that, I understand that, but I feel like that's become such a big thing because that's the only real complaint most time. There's some minor ones, like we talked about, like Finn, like, killing his, like, stormtroopers, like, oh, you kind of grew up with them, that's weird, like, there are some, like I said, for me, Rey being overpowered, but the biggest one, and some people didn't like Kylo, the biggest one always everyone throws out, like, it's a retread. But no one ever says it's a bad movie. You know, no one says, oh, it was crap, the acting was bad, the shots were bad, the action, the writing, the characters were bad. It's always just, it was a retread. And I guess that's probably why it worked, because they're retreading, like, a great movie, one of the greatest movies of all time. So that's my defense for the It's a Cover Song. And I know you don't feel as strongly as that as other people, too, but I know you're bringing that.
I mean, you know, at the end of the day, it took things that were similar, like you said, a cover song, and I stand by it. Like, a lot of what you said about that, I 100% agree. Like, you know, even the fact, like, oh, it's the droid BB-8 going off trying to deliver some, like, his message or whatever. True. Like, there's so many different aspects that were taken from it, but you know what? I totally agree. It was a great way to touch back to, like, the original and pull people back into the Star Wars universe, and so much of it was just done so well. Mm-hmm. That being said...
So now you're going to your cons here. Or
now I'm going to the cons. Moving forward... You know, Rian Johnson, you know, swell guy, totally. But, you know, with Last Jedi, like, just from watching the trailer, I guess, like, even with Force Awakens and stuff...
I'm going to tear you a new one right now.
Okay, you know, the story-wise, character-wise, there's so much new stuff, granted. But to have huge pivotal moments, like the Guerrilla Walkers being showcased here... that's not something that we need. A huge battle scene with four-legged walkers and speeders.
Oh, you don't need... Okay. So I thought you were going in the sense of... Where are you going with this Rian Johnson? You brought him up. Is this where were you going with that?
I'm wondering if this is really the directors trying to really touch on these pivotal moments. Like,
is it the directors or is it the studio?
That's what I'm feeling like. It's the studio. And in this case, I'm going to throw my shots towards them. And because I feel like the directors are the ones who can do... Like, the directors obviously are... I feel like directors are scared right now for their lives. We've got the Han Solo guys, and we got Colin Trevorrow gone. So, I mean, like, they have to follow along with what Kathy obviously wants and the studio wants. But that being said, I feel like the studio is... They're not going the right way with that.
You can, and I'm a person that didn't love Rogue One, but I can hit it this way of everyone says that, but at the end of the day, Force Awakens and Rogue One, both critically and financially, super successful. So people can say that and be like, oh, and I'm even in that camp of saying that, like, well, they're not really letting people maybe tell their story, their vision. But it's like, it doesn't matter because what they're doing is working. Even myself who didn't love Rogue One, It worked as far as big hit. Almost all critics liked it. You know, fans were generally favorable on it. So it's like, it's not like the prequels where something came out. It's like, oh, it's not like with the DC situation where it was so divisive. You know, like I know there's people that don't like Force Awakens, and there's people that don't like Rogue One, but it's not this overwhelming that you had with the prequels. So that's, I mean, it is. How do you feel with that? Because then, like I said, it is. Yeah, she might be saying this is the path we're gonna go. You gotta follow me. But right now, her path as a businesswoman and a business person, it's working. Like
it is, but then I feel like she should be incorporating how the spin-offs did, like the Rogue One, into Episode 8, Episode 9, obviously, because obviously Rogue One set the bar as being a standalone. It took just basically a small time frame and like a basic like idea of what we knew happens between these movies and built a whole story on its own with new characters, new everything.
Yeah.
And it was fresh, and it felt to me more Star Wars than Force Awakens, and it just felt like more Star Wars than even the prequels felt like for me. Like it dived into that universe, and it was splattered all over the wall, Star Wars everywhere. And like Force Awakens had that on a huge level, don't get me wrong, but why not take the Star Wars movie Rogue One that was able to build nothing and build it into a full feature film, being different, and incorporate that into Episode 8. Not have the AT-AT scene again and all that sort of stuff. Like, that's all I really have to go off of because I haven't seen just trailers.
Well, it could be timing because it could just be like, hey, we really needed, we had a need for these to be in the story, and it just happened like, oh, this is the 8th one, which is like the 5th one. It could just be like that because these are the things that I'll throw back at you to attack you and attack fans. Because there's one thing I feel like, and I said this in the car, and I'm sorry, you can come at me. I feel like Star Wars fans are being super bitchy right now. Like you're all being a bunch of bitches. We are in a world where J.J. Abrams, a guy who directed a super financially and critical hit that everyone loved, primarily everyone loved, until it became really cool to trash it. Just like a year after The Dark Knight, just after The Avengers, and I'm sure next year Logan. It's always a cool thing that it wasn't that good. Like, if the Joker's not in the movie, it's not that good. Guess what? The Joker is in the movie. That doesn't matter. Oh, well, The Avengers, it's just kind of a quippy, fun adventure. It doesn't mean much. It's supposed to be a fun adventure. It's the same thing as like, oh, it's a retread. Yeah, it is! But that's all you got. Like, it's always these one things. But, so, we live in a world where this guy directed, in my opinion, a great Star Wars movie, and people are going, oh my god, he's directing. It's not like they announced. I would 100% understand if they said today, guess what? George Lucas has come back to Episode 9. I would get the uproar being like, oof, like look what he did last time. We're getting a guy who did a great Star Wars movie. So the two things I want to say is, and like it's to you and the fans, is because I've heard this when we talk about people talking about different directors. I've heard two things. I've heard the something new, and then I've heard this one, which I'm going to talk about first, and this ties into you. I really wish Rian Johnson was coming back to do this, right? Because I always do an 8, and it's going over, and it looks like he's going to make something new and fresh, and that's what the cast and crew are saying, and like it looks dark. One, cast and crew, they're not going to be like, yeah, it's the same fucking movie as Empire Strikes Back, didn't you know? Like, don't believe anything they say, like they are promoting a movie, they want a paycheck, like it's great, and you can like read into some stuff, but I don't believe them if they were to say, oh, this is a completely new movie. So there's that. For people talking about, and even like yourself, talking about like, oh, with the AT-ATs and Rian Johnson, we've not seen Last Jedi. Everyone is, and I'm guilty. I'm guilty of sometimes being like, oh, they're talking about like this Lando-like character, and they've talked about like, you got Luke and Rey training. I've been guilty 100% of being like, this could be like Empire. I'm going to stop that 100% now today until I see the movie and then after the view, because the thing is, we don't know. Those walkers could be getting used, but that could be a scene in a completely different setting than Empire. And like Rian Johnson said, there's no big twist, so we don't know. And I've been responsible for that, but before you go, the other thing is that for the people that have been saying Rian Johnson should come back, how the fuck do you know? We've not seen it. And that's the thing when people, that's why I was never on the bandwagon after Colin Trevorrow dropped out. I was never on the huge bandwagon of Rian Johnson needs to direct. He's a phenomenal director. Looper is somewhere in here. I don't know, it's somewhere in here. It's one of my favorite movies the past decade. I love Looper. He did great episodes of Breaking Bad. The Brick was really good, but Looper is a great sci-fi movie. I cannot wait to see Last Jedi and see what he did. But I cannot willingly be like, man, he needs to do 8. What if 8 comes out and everyone fucking hates it? Not because it's a retread. What if it's just bad? What if they do all these weird decisions? That's why I've never gone this whole, like, Rian Johnson needs to direct. Like, we don't know, like, we've not seen what the reception is going to be like. We don't know what these characters, what if, like, someone like a Rey or Kylo Ren that we liked are completely different and mess them up? You know, like that thing where, for you judging and the other people saying it has to be Rian Johnson, we cannot make that call. We don't know. We've not seen the movie. And I have to go upon this guy who's making a Star Wars movie, and I've seen one trailer and some photos, to a guy who made a great Star Wars movie, and we're going to complain about that? And last thing before you go, if you just genuinely did not like The Force Awakens and you don't like JJ style, that's fine. I understand. But this is coming from lots of people who I saw loved Force Awakens or liked it, and it's just like this, man, like, I don't know if JJ can do it, and it's like, he can't close stuff. People use Lost. He had nothing to do with the finale of Lost. They used his script, but he didn't he wasn't a part of the decisions they made. And yeah, maybe Super 8 had a weird ending, but guess what? People don't talk about him being dark and gritty. Mission Impossible 3 is my favorite Mission Impossible movie. That movie is great. He ended that well, and that's the thing. He made a great Star Wars movie, and we're like scoffing at the idea that, like, oh my god, it's JJ. Not everybody, but some people have just been like, how spoiled are you? How fucking spoiled are you? From 1 week, and I said this today in the car, from 1 week, or in the summer, when Book of Henry came out, everyone was like, he can't be directing it, he made Jurassic World, he made Book of Henry, we can't have this, we'll take anybody, it can't be Colin Trevorrow. He gets kicked out, then a bunch of you assholes celebrate that he got kicked out, which is fucking shameless, by the way. If you include him in a tweet or anything, I don't care if there's reports of being hard to work with or an asshole. That's a shitty person, and you've lost all credibility in my mind. But you go, oh my god, yes, Colin's out, and then it's like, oh, but JJ's directing, that's not good enough. It's like, what do you want? Do you not want Colin? Do you not want JJ? I have other points, but I'll throw over the Taylor from the back of, like, we've not seen Last Jedi. We can't make those judgment calls yet. All I can go off is a trailer, and so far I saw a good trailer. Other than the walkers, we don't know, and yes, the Yoda Luke thing and then training, but we don't know if it will be beat for beat. I have a thought it could be, but I'm hoping it's not.
Jeez. I gotta remember where I was going with my
You talked about it still being a retread, and I countered back with we've not seen it yet. And that's why I always say 8 is the most important movie, because if we get 8 and it is another retread, then I feel like every episode will be that, and that's their formula for it. But if 8 is different, to me, if 8 is different, do you feel more better on JJ directing?
I don't have a problem with Ryan directing or JJ. Like, I have no beef, whatever with them. Wrong word. Queef. Shit. I have no cliff with it.
You no problem. Just keep
the
word problem.
So, are you okay?
Just keep going.
No, I have no problem with Ryan directing. That's my problem. It's the studio that I'm paranoid of right now. Like, I feel like they're digging their heels in. They're like, oh, he built the Death Star in the first one, which is great. I'm with you on that. Like, it was perfect to tie in with the storyline. But just to have the showcase in the trailer, those two moments with the walkers and the speeders, and then Luke training Rey, that just rubs me the wrong way. I don't feel comfortable with that right now.
So
don't get me wrong. I'm gonna love the movie, and
you can't say that.
I can say that because the trailer has me straight up super excited. Like, I'm beyond excited for this movie. That being said, those are my only two cons. Is that they're doing what's already been done.
So wait, because when we talked on the chat, you made it sound like it was more a JJ problem than a studio problem. You made it sound like, not that you were opposed to JJ directing, but like you made it sound like you had more problem with JJ opposed to like someone other.
Is that because
hang on, because you were really for Colin Trevorrow directing, and now with JJ you're like, oh, I don't know. Like,
yeah, because I mean, I don't get me wrong, I love Jurassic World, but then at the end of the day, like when I read that article you shared and just kind of seeing like more about Colin Trevorrow and his character, like I kind of realized
potentially that could all be lies. Don't throw him under the bus. It's just rumors.
I just kind of feel like, okay, you know what, like
poor guy.
I can see why the studio's doing what they're doing. Like, okay, move on. But like, to start off on a great note with JJ, like, why not carry that over and end on it? I'm with you on that. Like, but I don't want the studio to be like, oh, okay, we're gonna kill Luke in this movie. He's just gonna decide that he's gonna take his nap, and then here we got the next Death Star that's gonna blow up.
Well, that's where I think you bring up a good point of, like, okay, like, wasn't working out with Colin, and JJ, was a good person to come in. That's why I said at the beginning of this cast that, like, I have no cons, because if you said, who should direct a Star Wars movie, I could have a long list. JJ would be on that list as well, but I'd have like a Denis Villeneuve or a Nolan or other up-and-comers, even like Andy Muschietti, who just did It, you know, like something to cool and experiment with. But what my question is who's the best Star Wars director right now? And you look at many other situations. The first one is, obviously they planned it with Colin, it didn't work out. And they had to change gears, and obviously the movie's been delayed, which we'll talk about that, but they still want to get up and starting as quickly as possible as they can. You're gonna plug in somebody that has experience, and like look at Ron Howard, who was doing Han Solo, experienced director. This is like that times two, because you have an experienced director in JJ who's been producing and writing for years, but he's done a Star Wars movie. Not only a Star Wars movie, the biggest Star Wars movie of all time, and they pretty much had a coming out party with him as a director, and that's my thing of like. People throwing out a bunch of names about being diverse and everything like that. I hope it's not a diverse thing. I hope it's just, hey, they view him as talent. I don't think they look at JJ like, it's another white man. Like, let's get him. Like, if those memes are going on, that sucks. But I don't think it was. I think it was, hey, we're in a rut. We need, like, someone strong to come in. People throwing out, like, Ryan Coogler who's doing Black Panther. Or, like, Ava DuVernay who's doing A Wrinkle in Time. People throwing out all these choices, and this is the people I was talking about, were something new. One, I don't think it's the time for something new as far as director, because you're about to go into production. Like, you got to get someone that knows what they're doing. And the other face that people have thrown out, like Patty Jenkins who did Wonder Woman, people don't understand, or even Ryan Johnson, they don't understand how, like, film works. Ryan Coogler is doing Black Panther. Let's say he's finishing in a few months. And the plan was for Star Wars Episode 9 to start shooting in January. When you put out a movie, you don't just put out a movie and sit at home and have fucking whipped cream. You do go to China, you go to Japan, you do all these promotional tours for months and months. Like, I can't remember which movie it was that came out a few weeks ago. Oh, Spider-Man, just released in China. People are doing promotion all the time. It's not, same thing as Ava DuVernay who's doing Wrinkle in Time, is like, she's busy working on a movie. Patty Jenkins just signed up for Wonder Woman 2. So that's the thing, people have thrown out a lot of names, but I feel like they're just throwing out, like, and I even do it on Thought Bubbles. I said, oh, these are fun names that I would like, but it's not going to happen right now. Where people, I feel like, are mad that it's like, oh, we're not getting something new and fresh. But it's like, I don't know, like, I don't think the names people are throwing out, you're not going to get majority of the names. And the new and fresh was Colin Trevorrow, and people didn't want him. You know, and that's the thing where it's like, in this situation, don't you think it's the best to go with, at least you know what you're getting with JJ. They've worked together. He wasn't replaced like all the other three other, like, only him and Ryan Johnson are like the other directors not to be replaced. Even with Rogue One, they had another director come in and help Gareth Edwards. So it's like, those are the only two that have withstood the test of time. Like, do you see people's argument of something new? Or, like, how do you feel about that when people say, I just wanted something new? I was disappointed with JJ because, like, nothing against him. I just wanted a new take. Where, I guess my point again to you is, like, with The Force Awakens, I feel like that was going to be the movie no matter what. I feel like I said, he did certain character stuff and changed this. And, like, he apparently had a big hand in, like, introducing Phasma. Like, if it wasn't for him, she wouldn't be a character. So, like, obviously stuff like that happens. But how do you feel about the something new? Because I feel like you're not gonna get someone to come in there and like tear it apart and be like, this is what we're doing. Like, we're making a black and white slow motion Star Wars. And you're like, I feel like they have a tone, and that's why I don't think people understand. Like, this, I feel like he's the best guy to make the Star Wars movie in this world right now. Like, what they want.
Don't get me wrong. Like, I think like they need someone with the experience. They need someone he's worked with the actors. He knows what's going on.
Cast a lot of the actors too.
I mean, they're at the point now where, like, it's wrapping down, like, already, like, because today they delayed it, obviously. So I mean, like, this, it's coming down to the wire, and they need to be very strong in their decisions and what they're going to do. And I feel like they went with him, obviously, because it's a strong decision. It's the right decision.
Yeah.
But I feel like when you talk about, like, Force Awakens with JJ, I feel like then there's, like, two divided groups. You have one group that's like, okay, like, yeah, this is the movie we got, like, sure, like, I like it. And
it's
then
fine.
It's fine, yeah. But then at the end of the day, they still want something new. And then there's the other group that just outright, they boycott. They don't like the movie. They don't want, like...
So wait, you have two groups? Like, one group just kind of likes it, and then one group that just boycotts it. Where's the group that loves it?
Well, we know that's there.
Okay, fair enough.
There's no question about it.
Okay.
But then I feel like... it just makes me wonder, like, because now we have JJ coming back for this, like, the people that liked the movie but wanted, or didn't, they were okay with the movie, but they didn't like JJ, like, his take on it or whatever. Like, it just makes me wonder, like, okay, like, how's it going to affect those people? And then, like, the people that have boycotted it. It won't, because they'll go see it, and you know it. Then no one, people can say they boycott it, but it's the third biggest movie of all time, behind Avatar and Titanic, which are $2 billion movies. It's like,
people, and the same thing people are talking about, like, this has to be perfect. Like, sorry, Return of the Jedi is not a perfect fucking movie, and I hope JJ kills it, but, like, we don't always gotta measure it. Same thing Last Jedi. We don't gotta hope that's the Empire Strikes Back, because movies can't always be that good. Like, it's a magic. Like, that's the thing, like, I feel like if Last Jedi comes out and it's like a kind of cover song of Empire Strikes Back, I feel like somehow JJ will get less shit because they'll so see that that's just what they're doing. Because if that's the only worry that I get, people, let's say Last Jedi is totally different, and people are just like, oh, it's so much better than Force Awakens. He needs to come back. He did not want to come back. That was that's the rumor going around, that they asked him first apparently, and he said no, he didn't want to. Makes sense. He just finished Star Wars. He's probably fucking exhausted. He has to do all that promotional tour. He's probably done. So that's the people I could see Last Jedi being great, and then everyone's gonna use that as fuel against JJ. Like, oh, it could have been Ryan. It would have not been Ryan no matter what. It would have been Colin Trevorrow or somebody else. So it was never gonna be Ryan. So I don't want to hear that once from people. Like, I wish it was Ryan. He could have done it. He didn't want to do it. So do you feel like JJ gets a little... I don't know if it's a cover song of Empire. Is that less upon JJ, more upon just Lucasfilm and Disney? Because that's the way I look at it. I don't look at it as Rian Johnson. Look at, okay, they want you to do this story. To me, it's like, it's weird because they're directors. Sometimes, if this is the case, if Last Jedi is a cover song, the way I look at it is the studio is the directors, and JJ and Ryan, the directors, the actual directors, are actors. And it's like, for me, if I write a screenplay and I get you and Dylan, and I say, hey, I want you guys to act in this, you know, this is the role, this is the character, what do you think? And you read over and we start shooting and you start acting. And you can be like, hey, could I change this? Or hey, maybe could I say this differently? And that's how I feel like the directors are, where they could do that, where you couldn't come to me who wrote the script and be like, hey, I don't like that my character kills this character. Can we not kill him? And I'd be like, well, no, it's my story. And that's why I feel like if Last Jedi is a cover song, I feel like that's the role is where the directors will come in and put their style and their stamp. And of course they'll change some things, but it's the Marvel thing. And Marvel thing kind of works differently because they're not really retreading anything because they haven't really... Like, that could happen in 20 years. Like, these are all first-time things, right? But even Ant-Man, some people say, is like a retread of Iron Man already, right? So that happens already. So what do you think... How do you think Last Jedi goes, and how does that affect if it's a cover song or if it's good? What are your opinions on, like, leading up to JJ? How the impact of Last Jedi could hurt or help? Or...
If it's a cover song, it's just going to make people assume that we're just going to get Return of the Jedi again.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's definitely going to affect JJ and what he's trying to do.
Yeah. Which I don't think is fair, because then that's not him if Rian Johnson directs a completely different movie and it's the same as...
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, I so many people are getting mad at the directors and all this stuff, but I feel like it's 100% the studio. And I feel like people are just so easily overlooking that. Yeah. But I mean, like, it's... The fact that, like, Rian Johnson's just there to... He's giving his dark atmosphere to the film. He's giving, like, his insight and coaching these characters, like, through the steps and, like, to portray these certain events and everything. And, like, sure, like, we got, like, Gareth Edwards or like, JJ that want to implement, like, certain characters, or, like, even the actors wanting to do certain things with their characters and stuff. That's great. And Disney and Lucasfilm, they take that in. But at the end of the day, like, if you don't do something that they want with the story,
like Han Solo,
you'll get exactly. And that's you know, I just feel like with the Walker scene and just it being a cover song, that is what I go back to. I don't want episode 8 to be all about that. Like, have the Walker scene, throw it at, like, the end of the movie, throw it, like, just have it for a brief, like, 2 minutes. Don't make it take up, like, the whole intro of the film, like Empire.
I don't know if it's gonna be the intro.
But then even the training, like, just make it very different, and that's why I'm hoping Rian Johnson will be able to put his take and have his emphasis, like, or his kind of interpretation on those events.
Yeah.
And that's,
Well, then I have two things to bring. One, I'll bring on my last point as far as, like, replacing him and then with being experienced. Like, this is like a fun little insight. But, like, when we do the gauntlet, let's say there's a planned match between... We have everybody there, and Dylan and Taylor. And Dylan is somehow he can't make it. With me, what I do is, if we have a storyline, a show, and obviously the wins and the games are actually, like, those aren't planned out, those are all real. But everything else, we do a little show, we play characters just to spruce it up and have some fun. But let's say Dylan can't make it that day. I look around the room, and I say from past matches or maybe some storylines, I go, what is the best way to plug someone into versus Taylor that would make the most sense? I'm not going to plug in, like, I don't know, Kyle, because it's like Kyle and Taylor have no experience. They haven't verse, there's no storyline, doesn't make sense. Like, how could this impact, you know, the future, and how does it tie into the past. And that's what I feel JJ is that you're looking around the room and you think, okay, who can we plug in here that's the best choice? And that's the case. So I agree with you that I think people are overlooking as far as the director. I think I think directors have a lot to say, but they partner with the studio. Even if, let's give credit and say the studio doesn't reign supreme, it's a 50-50 relationship at least. I think it's less than that, but it's 50-50. So let's talk about those people that do feel that it's just the director's making the call. And maybe it is. Maybe it's JD that decided 100%, like, I want a Death Star, I want this in Force Awakens. So you have a lot of people worried that it's going to be a retread. I don't think it's going to be. I don't think you're going to see Ewoks. I don't think you're going to see a Death Star, because there's a few things. One, before Force Awakens happened, he said he wouldn't want to do any sequels, and he said he really regretted not doing Last Jedi, though, because he read Rian Johnson's script and he felt really jealous that he didn't want to do that. And like I said, okay, it's the main complaint about, it's being a retread, but you don't think he hasn't heard that for the past 3 years? People talk about that, or through the grapevine, or even George Lucas being like, oh, it's a good Star Wars movie for some people. I think because of that, and these are characters he started, I feel like he's going to be really, really motivated. And like I said, the fact of him saying, like, I wish I would have directed 8, this is why I cannot wait till episode 9 comes out, because I think I'm going to do a hashtag Travis Told You 4 years in the making, because I feel like he's going to be so motivated from multiple standpoints, and he made a good movie. It's not like he's coming from a bad movie. I think between him wanting to stick around and do Star Wars and felt like he missed out not doing it, and people saying, hey, it's just a retread, I feel like this is his time to say, hey, look at what I'm doing. Look at how new this is. Because, and I guess it's a retread thing, but even then, with people saying something fresh, that part I still sometimes don't understand. Like, no one made a stink about Nolan coming back for Batman. No one made a stink about James Gunn coming back for Guardians. It seems like just Star Wars, it's the one huge franchise that people are like, it needs to be different. It needs to be all-encompassing change. Like, I don't understand that perspective.
It's because, like, it's not like a remake. It's not like a sequel or anything like that. I mean, it's a sequel, but I mean, it spans over, and this is what I said earlier, 3 generations, going way back to like the 70s, way up to now.
Okay, but I'll hit you with this, because I knew you were gonna say this, and I had this in my back pocket. So you're someone that's saying you could understand the fresh perspective because people want new voices, right? You love the prequels. Would you say episode 1, 2, and 3 have different tones and different stories and themes? That was all directed by one guy.
But you know what? I would say that they do span and have different themes. At least for me, like,
they do. But how do we know that JJ wouldn't have done that with 2 and 3? That's what I hate, that people pigeonhole and say Force Awakens is the only movie he can do. And like, when people talk about like, oh, he's not a good, it's always light stuff. They, like I said, they don't bring up something like, for me, Mission Impossible. The movie starts with Tom Cruise's wife getting shot. And people are like, yeah, he's a light and fluffy guy. Like, I feel like people like consciously like put out the stuff that would hurt their arguments, like, oh, he just does retread, it's just fluffy, he doesn't know how to end stuff. But there's cases for him doing this, and once again, it's like Last Jedi, we're just assuming he couldn't done 2 and 3 in different tones, and a darker tone, or like...
But I mean, that being said, like, even the Phantom Menace has a lot of aspects nodding towards A New Hope in that sense, like, it's a lot. So I mean, but as it progresses, like Attack of the Clones and then Revenge of the Sith, they take they change. They don't follow in like Empire Strikes Back or Return of the Jedi. They're very, very different. And granted, that's because they're very different because it's in a different generation with these different characters of that generation, all in the same universe, but it's able to do different things. Now, this feels like it's still very much in the same generation as A New Hope, Empire, and Return of the Jedi, but it's not. It's 30 years in the future. It's new characters, new story, and it should be completely new with different things happening.
I disagree, because you got almost completely new with the prequels, and lots of people hate that. You got Jar Jar, you got midichlorians, you have Coruscant, like
that's why you have to be careful.
You do, because I feel like you can have new stuff, but the ties of Han Solo and Luke and Leia should all still be there. You know, that's the thing, like, it is in a different generation, but it's still tied to A New Hope's generation. Like, it's sequels of those movies. So they should still... That's why I love Force Awakens. It should still feel like that exact same world. Rey should still feel like she's in the same world that Luke was in the first one. I don't feel like Anakin and Obi-Wan are in the same world as Luke and all of them. You know, like, it feels cool. I mean, that's all CGI. The acting seems very wooden, but, like, it doesn't feel like it's connected at all.
For me, that's one of the things I love, is because it feels... You have thousands of Jedi. You have the Galactic Republic. It's built up into this whole new... It's this whole universe that's established, and then it transitions, and you feel it in the original trilogy. It's completely different tone. It's completely different universe, and it's the Empire now with this huge grip. And then transitioning from that to the New Republic, it should feel not like the Republic in the prequels, but it should feel a whole new take on like how this New Republic is, and how like these new characters, and just this whole new galactic rule that's been established. And it should feel like, as I said, like you have this one generation in the Star Wars universe with these characters, then it moves to the second one with Vader and Han Solo and all that, then it moves to this one with these new characters, and it should new characters.
We got that Star Wars Awakens new characters, and we're getting that again with Last Jedi. There's I can't remember her name, with she's the friend of Finn or whatever, you know, and we're getting some that Lando-like character named DJ, who is played by Benicio del Toro. So again, we're getting new characters. My worry is that they're just like a copy of Lando, something like that. But they are doing that. That's the thing. Like, I think 8 will be a big judging factor, but I just don't get the writing off of JJ, because like he's already done one and we've seen what he can do. And like, to me, what he done, even if you're not a huge fan, I still think you could say like it's visually stunning, like it's directed well as far as acting, you know, like it's just like I said, I feel like people act like it's just like he's punching their baby, you know. It's like we don't know what Last Jedi could have came out with that same trailer or a similar one, and JJ could have directed. Like, we don't know. Like, that's the thing, and that's why I kind of like Episode 9, because now we'll answer that question, you know. And it's like people can say, but I want something fresh. It's a Star Wars movie. And we talked about this. You are going to be getting Star Wars movies till you're dead. Till you're 6 feet under. Your kids' because Disney has them. You're going to get Star Wars films forever. All those people I listed that couldn't direct Star Wars, them or other talented people like them, will eventually get their shot. There's been, okay, maybe Obi-Wan's not officially announced, but there's big rumors about who's directing it. So you got that. You have Han Solo. You have Rogue One. You have Last Jedi. And then you have Force Awakens and Last Jedi. So what, 2 out of the 6 Star Wars movies he's been a part of, and people are acting like, to me, he's like directed all of them. And then they act like, oh, this is the first time we got a new guy. No, we're gonna do JJ. Like, and there was a break in between. Like, this is what I just find it's awesome. It's just because of the internet, and it's not everybody. There's a lot of people like myself that are really thrilled about it. There's just some people that I just feel like are just jumping to conclusions so fast about JJ, and they just act so like using so much hyperbole about like how bad or how like lazy of a choice this is, or how safe it is. It is a safe choice. This is $1 billion franchise. You don't want to give it to Han Solo guys who are making them feel like Ace Ventura. That's probably what scared them away. It's because of people like that didn't follow shit that you can argue if that's good or bad, but still, like, they want to be safe because this is their bread and butter. Like, also they got Marvel and Disney, but
I mean, that's why I know we'll never find out, but I want to know what Colin Trevorrow wanted to do, and like what was it that because it didn't seem like it was outright like the Han Solo directors where they were canned. Like, this one seems more like, I feel like it was more like a mutual kind of understanding.
Well, I don't think it was mutual at all from the way they sound. I think they generally were that one, like, obviously it sounded like he clashed with Kathy. The other thing is, after Book of Henry and Jurassic World, as the years have gone on, has gotten more criticism about it, I think there was a general concern of like, hey, we don't want a bad Star Wars movie, you know, like we don't want a Ron and Ron and Males, you know, and maybe Colin Trevorrow would have made a great Star Wars movie, but I think there is a combination of some tension and the combination of, hey, Book of Henry came out and everyone hated it, said it's one of the worst movies of the year or the decade or whatever. I've not seen it. I want to, because people just say it's so bad. I really want to see why people like make such a big deal about this movie, but I think it was a combination of things, but I think they know, okay, JJ is going to give us this movie, and I'm sorry, if Transformers movies, the way they can come out, still make hundreds of millions and billions of dollars, even in this thing, it's sad, I don't want it to be, but even if Episode 9 is a retread of Jedi, it's going to make a lot of money, and it's going to be critically successful, you know. Force Awakens, people can say it's a retread, but I'd look it up, I think it's like a high 80s or 90s on Rotten Tomatoes. I actually think it's tied with Empire as like the biggest, like best reviewed Star Wars movie, so it's like, at the end of the day, do they really feel like they're losing if they're picking JJ and they get a safe Star Wars movie?
I don't think they're losing, not at all.
No. I don't think they are. People think they are, though, because it's like, oh, this safe, boring choice. And it's like,
the way I'm looking at it, like, you know, like, I'm going to use this for example. So, like, Star Wars Battlefront, we got that. And, you know, that's a great nod to the original, and it's fantastic. But then at the same time, like, there's people that love it, and there's people that hate it because, like, it's just... It's not anything
didn't
fresh.
Have a story, didn't have new stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but then you look at Star Wars Battlefront 2, which is our episode 8, you know, it takes great things from before, obviously, like the Walker scene, stuff like that, but then it expands on so many levels, and you get so much new stuff. And that's what I'm wanting from episode 8. And I know I'm gonna get it.
And I want that for 9 as well too.
Yeah.
And that's the thing where I bring up, because obviously 8 is pretty much in the can. Ryan Johnson's made the movie. It's gonna be good or bad. We'll see. But that's the thing. I think people just think like JJ is not capable of that, and I feel like he can make us a great Star Wars movie. I even feel like he could make us the best Star Wars movie. I don't know that. And I thought, well, apparently Rogue One topped Empire for you, but like,
yeah, best Star Wars movie of all
that's
time.
ridiculous. But like, you have him writing again. Chris Terrio was writing again, who yes wrote BVS and Justice League. Whether you love, if you're gonna like Justice League or BVS, I think that's hard to judge because he had a lot of studio interference. Like we heard a lot about that, the studio changing stuff. The other thing he wrote was Argo, and that was an Academy Award winning movie. He won an Oscar for writing, you know? So it's like, to me, it's just like, if you didn't get to hear the names, and you just heard, you were in 2004, someone pulled you in a room and they said, hey, so Episode 9, they're making a Star Wars Episode 9, that's the end of a trilogy. A guy that's won an Academy Award is writing the screenplay. And the director, you haven't seen Episode 7 yet, but he directed Episode 7. It's the biggest Star Wars movie, the best reviewed Star Wars movie, and it is quite critically acclaimed for fans. If you just heard those facts, I feel like everyone would be like, this is great. Like, this is perfect. Like, oh, that director's coming back. Like I said, we're living in a world where a director who did a great movie is coming back and people are up and all. I feel like if you just heard the facts, you'd be like, I want to see what happens. And that's why I'm in that camp. I have no cons. Everyone can throw anything they want, and I'll just bat it right down with a fact. Because, like, everything I've said, you can go back and listen to it. I still feel is true 100% because I have not seen an angle where I'd be like, you know what? Yeah, that makes sense why JJ shouldn't be directing. We're going to get years of Star Wars movies. We're going to get a different one with Ryan Johnson. The spin-offs. We're getting many spin-offs. We're getting Obi-Wan. We already got Rogue One. Those can be the ones where we play in a sandbox and make things really different. And he made a great Star Wars movie in the confines of the Star Wars world that is run by Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy. Maybe there were some squabbles, but he didn't end up getting fired, and at the end of the day, they brought him back. So even if they argued for 10 hours on the set one day and they had tension, doesn't matter, because, like, who should we get? Let's turn to JJ. They turned to 2 people, and JJ was one of them.
On that note, though, of like, oh, they have the sandbox, like, they can do that with the spin-offs and stuff. I feel like that kind of stuff needs to be incorporated into the trilogy as well, though. You want to make things different, and they're getting there.
It can be, but I more mean of the Obi-Wan movie could possibly just be him on Tatooine dealing with his personal life like a Logan, right? You can't do that with an Episode 9. That's what I mean. Like, to me, it's same way as Avengers. Like, it has to be a world-ending thing. The episodes have to be about this grander evil or a Snoke or a Kylo Ren. That's what I mean by different. I'm not saying episodes should just be stale and just be front to back, always a cover song of Return and Empire and New Hope. I think there can be different things, and that's why for me, Kylo Ren's a very different thing. They took a risk. A lot of people don't like Kylo Ren as villain because he's like emo villain, but it's like he has such a great story so far. I can't wait to see how it pans out. And you can do different tonal shifts. I just mean stuff like an Obi-Wan or stuff like a Boba Fett movie, and it's like a bunch of bounty hunters hunting people down, or a Jabba movie. Like, I don't expect someone to be like, guess what? Episode 9, we're going to make it just about Maz Kanata. It's like, well, I don't know about that. Like, there's a certain template, no matter what, you have to follow the episode movie. And I feel like the spin-offs are the time, like, let's get weird. Let's make Obi-Wan crying in a desert somewhere because he chopped his best friend in half, but his best friend is killing people. You know, that's what I mean by you can get really different. You can do Knights of the Old Republic, where episodes can be different, but I still think you got to follow the template of it's really good versus evil, great characters.
And they can do that,
yeah,
but not in the format of where let's take these pivotal events that happened before and just re-skin them and throw them into the new trilogy.
I feel like all we need is a Episode 9 teaser, and when they show no Death Star, finally I can say, hey, look, you fucking idiots. If there is a Death Star in there, I'll eat every word I said. But I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think you're going to see Starkiller Base 2. And to me, when that teaser does come out, that's the second I say, see, like, I don't know why you're worried. Like, he's not, like, one of the main things of Return of the Jedi is taking down the Starkiller Base again, or sorry, Death Star, right? They're getting all over. They're getting all messed up, but, like, that's one of the main things. I feel like the second that teaser comes out, we don't any mention of Death Star or Starkiller. It's like, well, there's the point.
Well, I mean, like, one of the pros for me with, like, the trailer for Episode 8, we got that space battle we got to catch a glimpse of. There was no space battles in Empire, as far as
true.
So, I mean, like, even then, there's a huge twist. That's a pivotal moment. And that's great. I love that. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't have any cons with the directors. I'm excited for JJ to be taking Episode 9. I think it's great. He started it. He should finish it. I think that's fantastic. My cons are with the studio and what they're doing. Like, I mean, it's great. It's working for them. I understand why they're a bit twitchy because it's a billion-dollar enterprise.
This studio did give you your favorite Star Wars movie, though.
They did give me, but you know what? That was completely different.
It is, that's why I say Last Jedi could be completely different.
You know what? Then we'll have to just wait and see. That's all I can say. We got a couple months to go, and then we're there.
Yeah. Like I said, I think either way, until Episode 9 teasers start coming out, I think JJ's... People are going to forget, but I think there'll be a small pocket of people that will, I think, are either going to bring up either Last Jedi as a cover song, and like, oh, JJ's going to do another cover song, or Last Jedi is going to be really different, and then I feel like, please get this through your head. People are going to feel like, oh, JJ's just going to do a cover song. He can't do something different. I feel like until a few more years the teaser comes out, I feel like the whole time JJ's going to have a lot of pressure on him of either people saying he's going to, no matter what, do a retread, or he's not going to be good as Rian Johnson, you know? And that's why I don't know if it'll be the best Star Wars movie in this I'm not going to talk about the other ones just in this trilogy, but I just feel like he's going to be motivated. And I feel like he has something to prove with this one, and that's weird saying because it's such a successful movie, but I feel like he's gonna get a lot of heat. But when we broke it down, like, there's not really any reason you can give him heat. You know, it's the same reason why we said don't judge Last Jedi. Like, don't judge whatever Episode 9 is gonna be called until you see it, or at least see a teaser. Because you said it, I said it. If you think that the studio did not have a big hand in Force Awakens, you're blind. Like, they clearly had a huge hand, like we said. So you can't judge, I think, JJ primarily on that, you know? And that's where Episode 9 would be great, because it'll answer that question. I could be wrong. I could sit here and be like, hey, Last Jedi was different, and Episode 9 was Return of the Jedi. It was the same thing, but we get to have that question answered, you know? And maybe that's why he really wants to do it, because he's sick and tired of people just saying, oh, he just made a remake of New Hope. Like, if he comes in here, balls to the wall, makes something completely new, even if it's not the greatest, he can still say, well, that's what you wanted. You didn't want me to make a retread of Return of the Jedi, right? So I feel like either way he kind of wins. Either way he's sitting at millions of dollars. And either way, I think no matter what, it's still going to be at least a good movie. You can't look at even JJ's resume. People can say, like, oh, some of his endings aren't that good. But, like, all the stuff he's done I like. And all of it's positive. So it's like, I think no matter what, same as Return of the Jedi. It's not my favorite Star Wars movie, but I still think it's a good Star Wars movie. Yeah. I think no matter what with JJ, you'll get a good Star Wars movie. Opposed to Han Solo, we don't know if that's going to be good because someone's taking over halfway through. Where JJ, he's a safe pick, but to me, he's the perfect pick.
Yeah. Do
you have anything else to say on any of this?
No,
I ate the JJ burger once. I want to eat it again. And then next year, and then another, you know why? Because I'm getting a chicken in the middle. Rian Johnson's the chicken. I want to go back to the burger.
I'll eat it twice, 3, maybe even 4 times out of the burger. But you know what? I will eventually want to get another burger, some different flavor, something else different.
But don't you like, if it's like a barbecue burger, don't you like, oh, you want to get that again? But you can get that, like with this, we've had Rogue One, Last Jedi. You've had 2 other meals before you get that Jedi burger, that barbecue burger again, you know? Like, that's
maybe that's their plan.
You're not having the burger back to back. You're having it later on. I guess the last point, too, there's not much to add, but what do you feel about, the burger thing is the perfect analogy, you know? Just because it's like, that's how I feel. How do you feel about it moving from May to December? We didn't talk about that.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I like Christmas. You know, Christmas feels like Star Wars. Maybe, I don't know. You gotta find the podcast where I say this, because I don't believe you.
I don't think you're full like it should be May, but I think your point was you're happy it was going to May, and your point was maybe people have more money to spend because it's not Christmas. But I think...
Well, it's May the 4th. You know, it's between... Yeah, it's Star Wars. It feels Star Wars. Star Wars month, all that Star Wars Day stuff. But, you know... I definitely feel Star Wars more in Christmas time, but I definitely could see myself saying the money kind of thing, because, you know, people do. They got more money. And it's not like, oh, there's just one movie I can afford to see with my family this Christmas, so...
Yeah. I think it's a good thing, because, one, I already like the Christmas Star Wars thing. It just feels like it's a holiday movie now. It feels like a family movie. It's just something about... I love now when the snow's out, I know that's Star Wars time. You know, it's just something about that. They did that. I was a youngling when the old ones came out in May, so I didn't know what the hell month it was. So as an adult, I love that family are in town, so I can see it with my dad, I can see it with my mom, things like that. That's where we had the counterpoint of, like, more people are going to see it as a family together. I think it's a great time for that. I think it's a great thing because I think he needs the time. And other people did say it's like, it'll probably get delayed because JJ, he likes to... like, start from scratch and work from point A to point B. Anyone that's using it as a negative, like, oh, it got delayed, that's great.
That's
like,
fantastic.
Yeah, like, we want to be delayed so it will be better. I'm excited to see what his script and Chris Terrell's script is, and they have more time to prepare. And I guess my third one is I am excited to, and we're not going to talk about this today because it's going to be a topic on the main GeekVerse cast, which is this Thursday. Subscribe everywhere so you can get it live or get it on demand quickly. Going to talk about, it comes out a week after Wonder Woman 2. So we'll talk about that on the cast because we'll maybe get Dylan Tyler's perspective, and that's a topic in itself of how that could play. But with it being December, I think it's better before Wonder Woman. Nothing came in December. You know, we're living in an age right now. We're talking about with it. It's this massive box office success because it was placed in September. A movie or a place where movies usually did all right. The highest opening for a movie was $58 million. It just had a $123 million opening. Like, people are experimenting, and it's a thing of, I think, get it away from summer. That was the other thing too, because May, that came out 3 weeks after Infinity War, and I was always like, what are you doing? Like, why do you have, like, I get you could have, like, a Guardians and Pirates back-to-back, but, like, the ending of two big franchises back, like, that seemed impossible, and this was already, so, like, from everything from the director to the direction they're heading to the movie getting delayed, like, that's where people can throw cons, but, like, I see them all as positives, and I'm not worried. I'm even more excited for Star Wars because after Rogue One and after some stuff with Han Solo, I was getting a little down. I was getting less excited for Star Wars. Star Wars is my third favorite thing behind comics and wrestling. I love Star Wars so much. I have a goddamn $100 coloring replica helmet because it's just like I want to talk like him, and it doesn't even work that good. But you know what? I have it, and it's cool. I want these movies to be great. I'm excited to see where it goes, and for some reason, unlike maybe some people, I'm optimistic, and I'm very excited. Hopefully, soon with this hype. We have to be getting the Last Jedi trailer soon with it coming out in December. What's that? September, October, November? Has to be soon.
I was thinking it was probably like Thor or something like that.
Ooh, well the question is, yeah, you could be right. I was just, no, you could be right because the other big one Disney hasn't dropped. They haven't dropped the Infinity War trailer yet.
Oh yeah,
and I was wondering if
that's leaked too.
But I was wondering. Apparently the trailer is different than the leak though.
Oh.
So I was wondering, but maybe what they do is Thor with Last Jedi. But even then, I don't think so, man, because that's November. I think it'll play with it, but I think that has to come. We could even begin that this month. And I think there's a good chance we might not even get a third trailer. Well, we might get a small like minute teaser because remember with I think they did that with Rogue One and Force Awakens where it was like a teaser and then like tickets on sale. Now we get something like that, but I think we're not gonna get like a full trailer. But I think, what are we, September? What's the date today? 12th.
Yeah.
Oof.
I gotta have it soon.
I think I could be 100% wrong. I think we're gonna get it. Oof. I want to say September, but
I'm gonna hold you to this. Like,
I think September, but I could easily see it October, so it can be paired with Thor. It won't come out with Thor, but it'd be like October 2nd, so then it can be played with Thor. I don't think they would wait till Thor because that's November 5th, and that's like that's almost a month away. So what do you think? What do you think between now and November?
I feel like it'll be October, and like you said, they'll pair it up with Thor afterwards.
And then I think Infinity War could be with Last Jedi because I think that's smart because everyone's to see Last Jedi. Get Thanos' purple ass on that screen. Show Guardians and Avengers together. So
I think September's too soon to drop the trailer. To be honest, because we're already halfway through the month, though. Yeah, I feel like
but that's even then, like, because Star Wars thing comes out 16th or something. That's only 3 months away. Like that's really small when you think about it. October, November, even if you count December, like that's not even a full month. You know, it's like I guess it is 3 months, but still, it's like December won't feel like 3 months.
So you're saying in September?
I'm saying sometime from now until
any point of October 1st onwards.
I'm saying anytime from now till I don't know maybe they don't drop another trailer. No, from now till when? I'm saying sometime in September. It could even be last day of September, but that's what I'm saying. Okay. You're saying October?
I'm saying October and onwards.
Okay, no, you can't be all. It can't be November.
It
doesn't matter.
They'll drop the month of October.
They're not going to drop in November. If they did, then they really won't have a third trailer. So, wow, that was some good debate. We went longer than I thought, but I had a lot to get in my system because I feel like there's a lot of people are with me, and I get all the opinions. I understand. I'm not saying. You know, I'm talking about just some people that are using some big hyperbole about, like, this is such an awful choice. Like, before you even tweet out, like, this is a safe choice, think about it. Like, things are a business. You're old enough. If you got a Twitter account, most likely, you're old enough to know that these are movies that people make for money. Yeah. It's a job to them, you know? So you got to think about from all aspects. So I hope if you didn't think about that, I was not trying to talk down to you. I just hope that I open up that perspective of like, hey, it's not cut and dry. Like JJ made this movie, he's gonna make this movie. Bam!
You're just assholes, like you said.
The little bitches, what I call them.
Little bitches.
Where can they find us, the little bitches?
They can find us. I'm just gonna keep it short and simple. That was exhausting, you know. And
I'm gonna throw the links up. So
with your internet connection, find us in the search bar. GeekVerse. No, you gotta go to Facebook. Yes, you gotta go to Facebook, and in the Facebook search bar, type in GeekVerse Space Podcast, because you'll find this. You'll find our main Star Wars topic podcast, Cantina Conversation.
Yeah, we do a spin-off show every bi-monthly. We have good conversations. Last month, what did we talk about? We talked about
the spin-offs, right?
Yeah, talk about what spin-offs we want. Before that, we talked about D23. That's a little old. So, and the next cast we'll have talking about is who's the actual chosen one in Star Wars and our opinions. And we got, if you like us debating because we hate each other, more debates are coming. Go to geekverspodcast.com. You find all content, continual conversations. You can find Geek Mania coming out October 7th. It's going to be probably a 2-hour gaming video. Lots of great games are being played. It's a competition. Taylor's defending his title against Ruben in a best of 5. You got some matches I can't announce yet. They're going to be, that's why you should tune into GeekVerse Live this Thursday. We're going to be, not sure what time, follow our Facebook and Twitter. We'll tweet at the time when we're live. We got huge Geek Mania announcements. You got to find out who. Well, I guess I spoiled who the champion is. So you can talk about who the champion is. But, I even brought the title with them. Well, there you go.
Oh, look at that. Look at that bad boy right there. Oh, doesn't that feel good, huh?
Well, I may have spoiled that, but you can hear his official announcement on GeekVerse. He's going up against Ruben in the main event. You can tune in, or you can go and watch the match. Find out and go watch the match before Thursday, because you're going to see who's now running GeekVerse Gauntlet. Is it Kyle? Is it the dashing Travis Snail? Who's the new boss? Who's going to be making new matches? Find out. And until next time, check out all our content, It Review. Thank you very much for tuning into this, and I promise you, it'll not be boring. JJ called me. We gotta have dinner, you know?
Dinner.
Yeah, I don't think...
He's usually out in the hall, isn't he?
I should have told people that I'm, like, a little biased because me and him are friends, so, like, I don't know, like... I don't know, we get dinner together, so I don't know. Maybe this is gonna delay him making that GeekVerse movie, though, now.
GeekVerse movie?
Remember, I told you he was making a documentary.
A documentary?
Yeah, when me and him were having dinner, you know?
It'd be a good documentary.
Yeah,
I'd pay to see that.
I would, too.